Hi there, and welcome to the Grief and Rebirth podcast. I'm your host, author and trauma survivor Irene Weinberg, here to encourage you wherever you are in your healing journey. In each episode, I chat with incredible grief and trauma specialists, healers, mediums, and celebs, as well as remarkable people who have inspiring healing stories to share. If you're looking for a podcast that's both uplifting and inspiring, you've found it. Let us help you find your joy in life.
Hi, everyone. I hope this finds each of you so very well. I'm speaking to you from my studio in West Orange, New Jersey, and I could not be more delighted to have the pleasure of interviewing the extraordinary psychic medium, author, and social media influencer, Nicky Allen, who will be speaking with us today from Devon in the UK. Nicky, who was born a psychic medium, hails from many generations of psychic mediums. She worked as a police officer for 18 years, moving up in rank to major investigation bereavement trained detective. And after her retirement for medical reasons in 2003, she transitioned into a full-time psychic medium, spiritual teacher, writer, and angel expert. Gifted, multifaceted Nicky has been a freelance paranormal writer regularly published in mainstream spiritual magazines. She is the current columnist in Take a Break's Fate and Fortune magazine as the psychic detective, and she is a resident features writer in Haunted magazine. She has appeared internationally on radio and TV programs, appeared in the cinema film paranormal documentary titled The Bird Brook Ghost Hunt, and she has starred in European theater tours, seminars, retreats, and workshops to 3,000 strong crowds on the afterlife and angel phenomenon. Nicky has also produced many guided meditations, and in addition to all of her other remarkable accomplishments, she has a successful online spiritual living course called Prism Living. She educates and enlightens people through her spiritual education videos, and she is a prolific and popular social media influencer. After a catastrophic road accident limited Nicky's touring in 2012, she began to pursue her passion as a spiritual author and teacher. Her debut spiritual memoir, Me, Myself, and I, Diary of a Psychic, was a #1 Amazon hit as the hottest new release in her genre, and her recently published second book, titled The Rise and Fall of Britain's Best Psychic Medium, is also a #1 bestseller. I'm looking forward to talking with the knowledgeable, very authentic, and often funny Nicky about what it is like to be born into psychic mediumship, her experiences with murder victims and people with dementia, how her deceased father visited her after her catastrophic road accident, her popular new book titled The Rise and Fall of Britain's Best Psychic Medium, her thoughts about celebrity mediums, and so much more for what will surely be a fascinating and very enlightening and fun interview with the wonderful Nicky. Hey, Nicky, a heartfelt welcome to Grief and Rebirth podcast.
Darling, I thought you were talking about somebody else. It sounded so wonderful.
So I'm to you, girl. I was doing a lot of research to try to, I like telling everyone who they're listening to. You know,
Seriously,
it's like,
I'm in love with you, darling. I'm in love with you already. You're just absolutely superb. Talk about angel driven. You are just incredible. I've got to say it. You are. You really are. And thank you so much for having me here. I'm just so happy to be here.
Oh my God, we're going to have such a good time. We're going to help so many people with this interview because I know with your, I mean, as I was doing the research about you, I was like, oh my God, there's so many concerns people have that Nicky can address from her knowledge and all of this. I mean, I just know this is just going to, I like to say that all my interviews are special, but some of them you won't know are going to be extraordinary. And I know this is going to be an extraordinary interview.
Oh,
I'm really excited to have you here. So,
thank you.
Thank you. So let's start by having everybody join me in falling in love with you. We'll get them to know all about you. So tell us about your childhood and describe what was it like to be born into psychic mediumship.
Well, do you know what? As you say, I'm naturally born. So I wasn't pushed into it. I didn't have to do it. It was there. It was just there. I thought I could do everything I did do. Everybody could, So when I was 4 years old, I used to dream or sometimes stand at the bottom of the stairs. My mum must have thought, oh, God, I've got a very special child here. And I used to stand there and just gaze up to the top landing of the stairs. And there was this huge white doorway. And I could hear it vibrating. It was like a mung, 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 and it used to ebb and flow with light. And I knew that it was another dimension. I just knew it. I knew that if I stepped in there, I would be in a completely different space. I think I was too young to realise it was heaven. But when I look back now, I think, wow, that really happened. Because sometimes I would dream floating up towards it. And then someone pulling me back, who I now know is one of my main soul guides, like, you're not going in there yet, madam.
So you had a portal. You grew up with a portal in your home.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
The other side. I mean, most people, is that a special thing because they knew of what was going on with your family, or do most people have portals around them?
Yeah, I think so, because obviously I come from a bloodline of at least 4 generations back that I know of, and they are all 7th sons of 7th sons. Now, the magic number 7 is a very strong portal number for mediums down here on the earth plane. And my granddad was the last 7th son, and then we just broke the legacy because then, my auntie was, they're all psychic, basically. Some ignore it, some use it, and some, do it as a job. My dad knew when he was going to die. He knew exactly when he was dying. He could have died. He took loads of life insurance policies out.
Your
his sister, he said, do us a tarot reading. How long have I got?
Wait. Who knew when he was going to die? I didn't pick that up. Who knew he was?
Yeah, he knew he was going to die.
This is your father? Or this is your father?
Yeah. Wow. He knew he was going to go, and my mum knew he was going to go. And when he bought a van, it was green. He brought a green Ford van. And my mum, and I actually remember seeing this, and my mum said, you're going to die in that van. And he said, oh, don't be so morbid, Evelyn. She goes, you are. Get rid of it. It's green. We had this superstition about green vehicles. And he goes, oh, don't be so morbid. And she went, right, okay, you're going to die in it. Anyway, he had a sense that he was going back home soon. So he went to my auntie and she said, you've got about 6 months to a year. And he got loads of life insurance policies out because of that, on her words. And, when I was a child between that age, I was daddy's girl. My link with my dad is so strong, it's incredible. And it still is. And everywhere he went, I was his shadow. And during that time, I used to dream of things, and I'd dream of a lost, kitten, and then I'll be posters for a lost kitten the following day. I could see people's auras. I could see what they were feeling. I just knew, and I honestly thought that everybody could do it. And it wasn't until my dad, and we've got very similar, because you've given me a brief, what I'd like to say to the viewers is I haven't done any research on Irene. She's a star, because I like things to flow organically. However, you did say there was an accident, and I assume that was a road accident, because I feel there's a real likening between us two, because it was road accidents that shaped my whole life. Because my dad was only 38, I was only 9 years old, my brother 5, my sister was 9 months old, so she didn't even know my dad, which has created a lot of problems since. Not problems, but lots of grief to deal with, not knowing her dad and me knowing him very well. And I was told he had passed, and obviously it broke my world. And then 2 days after he passed, the whole family were there, my mum's side of the family and my dad's side of the family. Now, my granddad was an amazing medium. He would work for Scotland Yard. He knew the likes of Doris Stokes, who predicted that one of the children was going to be a very well-known medium. I didn't know it would be me, but basically what happened is 2 days afterwards, I went for a walk with my auntie, and we took the dog, and my dad pulled up in a car Don't even ask me how he manifested a car. I've got no idea. And he just pulled up and goes, "It's okay, Nicky, I'm fine, don't worry." And I'm standing there. I dropped the lead of like my dog, and I'm like, I'm looking up to my auntie, and she's like wondering what I'm looking at. I'm like, how dare they lie to me? He's alive. So I've then just grabbed the lead, and I'm screaming all the way back to my home, smashed the door open. "How dare you say my dad is dead? I've just seen him. He's alive." So everybody's like, oh God. So, you know, my mum's side, even though my mum was psychic as well, they were less kind of, you know, open to it, a lot of the family members. And they obviously thought I was in denial of his.
How old were you when this happened, Nicky?
9 years old.
9 years old, wow.
9, yeah. And so my granddad, my dad's dad, then pulled me aside and said, "Listen, I think it's time I told you, you're going to see spirit people. And yes, your daddy is in heaven, but he's just letting you know he's okay." And he said, you'll possibly see angels. He said, "You're going to see things that aren't of this world now." So he goes, "But it's a special thing to have, Nicky." And he goes, "The only thing you've ever got to fear are the living." And he's totally right. Totally right.
Totally right. He's totally right.
Totally right.
You know what really blows me away with your story? Just hold on your thought. I just want to say this. Your father wasn't afraid of dying. He got the message. He took out his life insurance. He was dying young, but because of his knowing, because he knew about this world also, he knew that, okay, I'm going to have a shorter life here. I must have planned it, and he was going to the other side. He wasn't, while everybody else is like grieving and carrying on, he was cool with it.
Absolutely right. And the thing is, we don't want to get too, it's like, for instance, when anybody passes, obviously we have the human ego part of us, the human ego layer that absolutely floors us. It absolutely floors us. However, for instance, when I was standing at my mum's bedside just after she passed over, I'm already going up looking to see if she's arrived or not. When my dog just recently passed over, I'm like, "Let me know when you get home." Whereas people that haven't got that openness, are not plugged in, if you like, to the universe or the spirit world, will be in complete chaos, hurt, grief, and heart-ripping pain. And we are still going through that, but we're also sending our consciousness up to that other dimension to find out where they are. And that really, really does help the healing process.
So much. Not only that, you know that your loved one's on the other side and you're going to see them again. That it's not over when it's over.
Yeah, and obviously me seeing my dad, he's manifested, and obviously we'll talk about that later, about when he came the second time to see me. He's with me all the time. He manifests all the time. He does a lot now through electricity. But, people, when they hear it, even when I read my books back, darling, I think, did that really happen? Did I make it up? Because it's so incredible. Because I remember when I was younger, medium, and, I used to read books, this person fully manifested. I think, oh, God, I'd love for that to happen again. Just sit with them for a few minutes, And then obviously I got my guide, Julianus, and I can sit and chat with him, and I can go up to heaven whenever I want. I've signed the Akashic record so I can go and look at where souls are. And it's just, it gives you so much of an easier ticket, if you like, when you're doing a human experience each time. And because I've been shown so much about previous lives and eternal souls, and because obviously I was a police officer, I want evidence, and they know that. They must be on Valium. I say that all the time. And I said, well, you're going to have to give me synchronicity or signs, because I am not going to share with the public or anybody that wants to hear what I don't know is completely 100% correct. So they then will do signs or back it up magnificently so that I can then say, that's how I know, And it was just...
That's wonderful. So I want to go on to asking you, what inspired the beautiful, wonderful you to become a police detective? Why do you say you were forced to do mediumship after being a police detective? And what was it about hearing a baby crying that put you on your path to serving spirit? This has got to be a great story.
Goodness. Well, do you know what? I most of my family, I'm not going to lie, and people from the UK or know about the UK culture around East London, most of them are very naughty villains. So don't even ask me.
Scoundrels.
They're scoundrels. Don't even ask me what I was obsessed obsessed. I literally used, Barbie dolls, Ken dolls. I would be interviewing them to see if they had an alibi for the murder of the Cindy doll. And I would send my brother and sister out as detectives to go and do inquiries. I was just obsessed, like absolutely wanted to do it. And I think a core of me needed to do some sort of public service job, because as an empath and a light worker and a natural medium, you want to help humankind in any way you can. And for me, it was the police, And I literally, it was all I ever wanted to do. I used to randomly walk around the streets as a child and just write down car numbers on drives, just in case I saw them in a crime.
Wow. Well, what was it like for you to work with some of the people that you work with there? Because police officers are often kind of a tough, skeptical bunch, right?
Oh, yeah, they were.
So that
Do you know what happened?
for you?
I know, I'm ashamed to say it, right, because I became a police cadet. Within leaving school, I literally, within 3 months, was a police cadet. And because I was very lucky, because of my turn in my birthday, I was old enough to go straight into the police cadets, which was very hardcore training back in those days. However, we worked hard, but we were very naughty at night. And we used to get like cans of beer out. We smuggled in. And we used to have like secret drinks in the canteen area. And I remember one day I just said to one of the girls, I said, is your name called Margaret? She went, yeah, how do you know that? I went, it's just something like, my family, all my family like it. So, when it's there, you don't go to courses or you don't go learn it, because it's like, it's just there. So I said, she's saying about your dog that just went over. Anyway, they went, oh my God, do me. So it turned out that I started doing secret psychic evenings, as a late teenager. I had a very abusive early adolescence because my mum married a monster. And so I kind of pushed it all down, and I kind of got a lot of demons from that, which we'll go on about later on. But that's how it kind of started. So people that got readings were like, oh my goodness, you want to talk to Nicky? She's like amazing. And it got to a stage when I was 21 that my partner at the time knew I was psychic. He knew I could see people that passed over. My granddad had passed at that time, so he was there all of the time. And I say, my granddad said, and he's like, I'm so sick of what your granddad's got to say. And so anyway, even on holiday once, I was very, very poorly during the night. And I said to my partner, my granddad says that my appendix had burst. And he goes, I don't care what your granddad said. You'd be in a lot more pain. Go to sleep. The following day, I was in St. Lucia in the Caribbean. Following day, I collapsed and my appendix were bursting. And my granddad said, see, I told you. I went, I know, okay. And I had to have my appendix out, really instantly. I nearly died. But the angels looked after me, another story. So, going back to the police, I started to, even though they were quite sceptical, they started to kind of, some of them used to take the mickey out of me and kind of, tease me. And others were like, no, she knows what she's doing. Then what happened was I was actually, there's a lot of drink involved here, isn't there? I'm just going to talk about me. I'm in this, it's like, we call them like social clubs here, not like a do club, but like working man's clubs, they're called here, where, working men or working class go and, socialise. And I've been invited up north to some friends that we've met on holiday. And I don't even ask me what possessed me to do it. But I literally said to this lady opposite, I've never met her in my life. She was part of this group who'd like, no, hello. And I said, the man that got murdered in front of you says, you've got to let it go now and leave the guilt. He said, you saw him go down the stairs and he lied to the police, but can you let it go now? Because he's okay. And the person that killed him is now up there as well. She went, what did you just say? And she lost the plot and the whole energy went, what the hell's going on? So in the end, I thought, I can't believe I've done this. I've walked this murder victim through. We're all having a drink. It was totally wrong. I didn't know it was going to come out. And this woman's upset and it's completely changed the energy of the evening. And basically, she'd seen a man who had got thrown down the stairs by another man, but she was so scared that the man would come and get her and her family that she told the police that the man just fell down the stairs. So the murderer got away with it. And so it was a murder victim coming back. And so my partner said, I'm not being funny. You really need to go and hone this because this is happening more and more. And you've now just like completely upset. But then she was great afterwards. He was like, wow.
Oh, you healed her. And the information you gave her helped her to heal.
Yeah, absolutely. And so he goes, you need to go and hone this. He goes, this is just madness. So the following, unbelievably, 2 days later, there was a psychic fair in my road in a local hall. And I walked in, I'll never forget her, gorgeous Rose, who's in the spirit world now. And I thought I'll get a reading, first of all, and see, you know, because I want to be a copper. I don't want to be a medium. So, you know, I don't really know what to do. So I sat down and she went, what are you doing sitting there? So I said, want a reading? She goes, don't be so stupid. She goes, come and sit next to me. I'll train you and you can do some work today. And she literally showed me how to close it down, how to open it up, how to do emergency readings and allow someone in if it was important, how to deliver the information. And she was amazing. So I then started doing psychic evenings during the evening and then policing during the day. Problem with that is I put my like psychic super person suit on at night, like Batman. And I literally ended up doing that. So I started to get a really good reputation. And then people used to start coming to me during the job. I became a detective, which is all I ever wanted to be. Then I was on major investigations, which is all I wanted to be. And they used to come to me. We had a baby that was stolen from a hospital. And she was only a couple of hours old, and it actually set the precedent for security in hospitals from then on because it was horrific. Nobody'd ever heard of it before. And I actually had the forensic man come to me and say, look, you know, I've got the blanket the baby was in because his wife had had a reading. And he said, do you want to feel it and see if you get anything? And I literally held this blanket. I got a notepad and I just wrote everything out. And I don't even remember what I wrote. Afterwards, I'd drawn the scene of where the baby was. I said she'll be back by, this is baby Carly, if anybody wants to Google it. I said she'll be back by 5 to 6. I drew the location of where she was, the address of where she was, and that the woman that had stolen her had recently had a miscarriage and also was under the hospital for really bad headaches, and it was all completely right. So then he started telling everybody else. So it got to a stage where I found motive for murders. I found, you know, if someone was standing in an interview in front of me, I knew he'd done it or not. The problem is trying to prove that in a court of law. So it was very, very difficult, especially when I specialised and became a murder victim and rape liaison officer, because I would see the murder victims when I walked in the room. And I was supposed to be a professional detective walking in saying, I'm sorry for the past, I didn't do my, you know, introduction and let them know that I would facilitate information from the murder inquiry team to the family. And yet you've got the murder victim going, hey, can you say I'm okay? And I'm over. And I'm like, oh, it's just really difficult because you're trying to block them out to try and think, Nicky, think as a detective, don't be a medium.
Right. Talking about multitasking. So was this the baby that was crying? Yeah,
the baby. So what happened was that it's such a long story. They're both in the books. But what happened was that I ended up getting retired. I got a really serious back injury where I tore ribs away from my spinal joint picking up a dead body. And don't worry, we resuscitated her. And basically, in the end, it ripped again. And they said, look, this is going to keep happening. You have to retire you, which broke my world. And that was my biggest breakdown I had, I think, because you lose your family, you lose being with the police. You know, they're your whole life. You know, a cop, your whole families are cops.
Right.
And I was
They were your tribe, and now you're leaving your tribe.
Exactly. I left my tribe and I was so lost. I just didn't know what to do. And then this is the beginning of this book. Because then what happened was I'd walk past a light bulb and it'd explode. And I would walk past a chandelier and it would start swinging and stop in midair and then swing again, really like against gravity. And at night, and this is the most amazing thing because my partner heard it as well, I would have people in my bedroom go, Nicky, I need to talk to my daughter. Nicky, hello, Nicky, please talk to my dad. And I'm like, what the hell? And he's going, oh, hell no, this is not happening. We get dead people all around the bedroom. I can hear it. And it's like, of course I can hear it. I need to get up for work. And I was like, oh my God, what the hell's happening? My whole house was haunted. Doorbells going off. microwaves ding dinging, the oven alarm going off, clock stopping and then starting, and then suddenly the baby started. And you know that real high octane wow, like a newborn baby, that wah, it was that. And it was so distressing to hear. And so I would walk to one room and then the noise would move to another. And as an open-minded person, I thought, I'll see if there's any babies, that have, delivered along the road. Nothing. And I was like, I'm going crazy. I was losing sleep. I was like trying to tell them, go back to the spirit world, trying to be all polite, nothing. My friend phones me up and says, I'm really scared. I'm going to go and see a medium. I don't want to go on my own. Will you come with me? Because, most friends don't come to me because I already know most of what's going on with them. And so I said, of course I will. And I walked up to the door, never met this woman in my life. She opened the door and she said to me, the baby will not stop crying until you start serving the spirit world.
Wow.
I was like, I couldn't believe it. So she goes, I want you in my circle. So she's completely ignoring my friend. Very long story short, within weeks, she put me in front of 100 people and said, just do it. You're natural. You're basically, at the top of your level as a beginner. Just do it. It brought a lot of jealousy because people are like, who the hell's Nicky Allen? And I literally stood there absolutely petrified and delivered my first message, which was incredibly a man had driven off a bridge, killed himself, but had gone in to see his friend at the pub. So I said, I've got the Oak Pub, I've got a man called Rob. I said, this man's called Mark, has gone off on a bike. And I said, and he killed himself. And this woman's gone, oh my God, my husband's Rob, his name was Mark. They went to the Oak Pub, he said goodbye, and then he killed himself. I'm like, thank God. And then I was in.
Wow.
And straight after that, with the confidence I had from doing that, I then went to my friend who was in a salon because obviously no money was coming in. I couldn't get a job. Everything I applied for disappeared because
so I got this gift. How do I make money at this, right?
I know. Anyone was going, so I'm like, I've got to sort myself out here. And I said to my friend Claire, she had a beauty salon, she had a spare room. I said, do you mind if I do readings? She said, no, not at all. I'm not even going to charge you, just do it. Just now and then give me a reading. And bless her heart, within a week, it went to 6 months waiting list. However, the first day that I went back home after doing my first official 4 days as a professional medium, the baby stopped crying and everything just went totally quiet. So they basically, do you know, like the film Ghost, my favourite, shocker, where he's going 99 Bondsman, not to Demi Moore. No, not Demi Moore, to Whoopi Goldberg. Have you seen the film?
Yes.
And he's bugging her, I'm here to really hate fire. That's what they did. They literally haunted me until I took up being a full-time medium, which is mind-blowing. And to have my partner witness it was even more mind-blowing because rather than me say, oh, they're calling my name, he could hear it and he wasn't a medium, but they were in the room walking up and down. And so they got me on my path. And my path literally went from here to here. It rocketed.
Because you're amazing. You're amazing. So
well, no, it's not. Do you know what I'll say is I'm not amazing. I am someone that's always stayed grounded with no ego. And if you do that, it makes you a better channel, conduit, tunnel, whatever you want to call it, for them to come in and bring as much information in as possible. But if you are full of, oh my God, I'm amazing, or oh no, I'm doubting it, or oh, I'm rubbish, or oh, am I opening myself to something negative, then you close down that aperture to let them in, so that you only get that certain information. So I'm like, do you know what? I'm never
So the Nicky Allen advice for everyone is stay humble and stay grateful, which I have to say also with the success, I'm humbled by it and amazed and grateful for it with the success of this podcast. I think that's part of it too, because this is not coming from my ego either.
Exactly.
Exactly, right? So let me ask you this, because in your new book, you state that we each have a life plan, and the older our soul, the harder the experiences we choose to have on earth. So how do you know for sure that this is true? And I am thinking that obviously you had a life plan to do what you're doing.
I have got no idea. I must have a very sick sense of humour. To give me this life, I must have been on something up there. what happens is, this is going to take too long to describe, but Julianus, who is my main soul guide, introduced himself to me on a summer's day. And I had asked just previous to that, if you are going to give me information that I have to tell mankind about, you better prove it to me, because otherwise I'm not going to say it. So I'd been told about this life plan business, and I'm like, I'm not having that. That's rubbish. We just, we go up and we just then stay in heaven. Can't have that. So he then says, I'm going to prove Nicky wrong. So Julianus, I go and have a little sleep, and I think, I'm feeling a bit like meditation. I feel like alpha brainwave state. I'm awake, but I'm not. And I find myself freezing cold in this cave, and I can hear the water dropping, and suddenly the rock opens, and there's this man who I have been ignoring in my dreams and in my meditation since I was a child. I was so embarrassed. He looked like a really scraggy old man in this brown suit. And when I used to go up and see my nan in this hut I used to visit them in, and my dad and my aunties and uncles, because they're all up there now, there's hardly any of us left, there was this man sitting in the corner. I thought, oh, God, he don't look very nice. And I used to be really snobby and ignoring.
Judgmental there, Nicky.
And I'm like, oh, my God, I was awkward. I'm like, oh, my God. He goes, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. It's very, forthright. And I said, I'm so sorry. I wanted to just say I'm sorry, because he goes, just shut up a minute. So I said, where are we? And he said, we're in Trastevere, Rome, which I've never heard of in my life. Obviously heard of Rome, but not Trastevere. I said, what is the date? He said, it's 1452. And I looked out of the cave and I saw all these beautiful cypress trees. And then suddenly he went, come with me. And as he touched me, we were outside a place called St. Cecilia's Church in Trastevere, Rome. And so he goes, this is where I met you, Mary. And he goes, I know you're Nicola. They all call me Nicola. I hate it. They all call me Nicola. Only my doctor calls me Nicola. But anyway, he calls me Nicola. And he said, but you were called Mary in this time. And he said, you were welcomed into the house of Mary Magdalena in 1452. And he goes, come with me. So then we walk into this tomb area, and St. Cecilia's tomb's there. And then this beautiful man in this white cloak comes up, and he kisses my forehead and says, I am Pope Nicholas V. And I'm like, this is getting a bit weird, because I don't do religion. Do you know what I mean? At all. And I'm like, okay. So he goes, come, Ave Mary is upon us. Come with us, Mary. And then we went, did all this chanting and all the rest of it. And then Julia said, let me show you the archway of prophecy that I've written. I'm like, what is this all about? So then I come back, and just as I come back, and he said, now you know we have life plans and previous lives, right? So I come back and I think, oh, really? So I'm hitting the Google button, and Trastevere Rome come up. I put St. Cecilia's Church on, but you know what it keeps saying? The server keeps whirling round. It wouldn't let me research it. So you know what I did, Irene? Do you know what I did? I got a ticket to Rome. I thought, you know what? I'm going to go. If this is real, and I was terrified and excited at the same time.
Yeah, because
it doesn't exist.
You had to prove it and make sure that this thing that happened to you was real.
Exactly, and I did. I know, and I got into the taxi, and I literally said St. Cecilia's Church in Trastevere, Rome, and he just went to see, and I went, oh, blimey, does this exist then? So we got in there, and as we're getting closer, my heart's starting to palpitate. I can see this hill that I recognise, and I'm like, oh my God, and I can feel it now. My hairs are going up. And we end up pulling into this square, and I'm crying my eyes out. I'm like, oh my God, and right in front of me is St. Cecilia's Church. Okay, and I'm like, I know it all, the pillars. And I walk in, and there's a bust of Julianus, his archway of prophecies there. And in 1452, the house of Mary Magdalena opened to allow nuns to stay with the monks who were San Franciscan monks that did a sabbatical in a cave before they served the church. And I'm like, oh my God, there is the tomb of St. Cecilia. I think this is just mind-blowing. I then go to the Vatican, and I walk in and I say, where's Pope Nicholas V, please? And so he says, no, he's not here. And I'm like, yes, he is. And I got quite aggressive. I didn't mean to. I was so passionate. Nearly I went, forget it. And I don't know if you've ever been to the Vatican, but there's like thousands of people there. Right? I just zoom straight to this little tiny door, this concrete door. Walk in, second crypt on the right. I am over it, not supposed to be, because you're not allowed to touch them, crying my eyes out, right, hysterical. These nuns have come up, oh, come with us. And they've got the security and they've sat me down and got me water. I am literally hysterical. Like, I've just reconnected with a different dimension. And when I look, it's Pope Nicholas V's crypt. And he presided over the Diocese of Trastevere in 1452. So he was my during that time. And when I went back upstairs, the guide found me, goes, come with me. And cut the long story short, he said, go and get some files. I should have them here, actually, to show people. And I said, okay, like these little bottles. And then he talked to this armed man with an earpiece. And then he come back with these filled with water, and he goes, these are from the Pope's private font. You're a very special lady, because there is no record of Pope Nicholas V being here. I had to ask an old superintendent. And he said, so you take these and you use these wisely. And I healed my dog's tumour with that holy water.
Wow, Nicky. That's a story. Wow, Nicky. Or I would say you're the real thing, kiddo. So tell me this. Tell me this. You also state in your book that if we sway, talking about life plans, that if we sway too much off our life plan, which you got the crying baby, our guides bring us back by creating what is called a tower moment. Would you say that crying baby was your tower moment?
Yes, that was a tower moment for that time, but I had another bigger catastrophic tower moment to come. And what I mean by a tower moment is, in the major arcana of the tarot, there's a card called the Tower. And it basically means that everything that you know and everything that you feel comfortable with is suddenly taken from under your feet. Your whole life is changed. It could be chaos, pain, grief, whatever it is. It's a tower moment of, oh, how the hell am I going to cope? How am I going to move on? I can't handle this. But I found that tower moments are the biggest gift to humankind, because if we sway too far off a path, and this is where I'll come back to, where I had a lot of abuse. I was attacked as a 7-year-old by a paedophile in a toilet. He was showing his son what to do. So there was massive issues from that, because that was terrifying. Then I also was sexually and brutally abused by my mum's second husband, and so was she. So I had all these demons, but the problem is, part of me hid behind my badge as a detective, because I thought nobody needs to know that I'm weak and I'm scared and I hate myself inside, because you do, as a victim of abuse, of rape, you kind of end up hating yourself because you think you've deserved it in some way, shape or form.
But you brought it onto yourself, yeah.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, one of my other guides, Khan, who showed his previous life in Arizona, yet to go there yet, he said to me, why do you think you looked after rape victims and murder victims? Because in our life, you were raped and killed by the white man taking our land, because he was Native American. I'm like, whoa,
Nicky.
So in effect, it helped me as a police officer, because people say, you don't know what it's like. I say, actually, I do. I've been there, But moving on to that, the tower moment for me is that even though I was huge in the industry. I was working with Colin Fry, Derek Acora. I was just about to tour America and Australia. I'd just been offered a worldwide deal with Discovery Channel doing this huge program. I'd already done loads of television. I had people begging me to do books. God, I wish that I was now. And I literally, had to really, really find it very difficult to try and stay grounded, because people put you on this pedestal of fame, and I saw how it affected other mediums. I'm not that person. They were asking me to lose weight and whiten my teeth and dye my hair brown and get elocution lessons. I'm like, hell no, that's not happening. So I didn't really feel comfortable with that. And that discomfort started bringing my demons back, that perhaps I didn't deserve what I was getting. Anyway, the tower moment happened in 2012. I was with the wrong partner. He was a disgusting con man, and I didn't know. I was getting a lot of my old demons back of me not being deserving. I was a people pleaser. I was exhausting myself trying to show people that the afterlife existed, and I was literally working 7 days a week. And what happened was I had a road accident, and it was a very simple road accident. All it was I literally was just turning into a restaurant to go for something to eat. I was in the passenger seat, and this young lady had passed her test the day before, and she T-boned straight into the car. And I could see her coming, and all I could think of was my dad dying exactly the same way in the road accident he had. And I curled up, and as she hit me, the right-hand side of my body smashed into the centre console. And I don't know why I'm saying this, but I feel like you know what I'm talking about here, where things slow down.
Because I had a bad experience during this accident that I was in.
You know what? And I feel that you had angels with you. But I will talk about that in a minute. I just suddenly got that as I felt like I was sitting in your shoes. I'm sure you had a road accident, because I just feel like it all slowed down, but I knew that it's meant to happen. I knew it was going to happen. I'd seen a vision of it before we even left that day. And anyway, but I thought, well, I didn't know when and where it was. I just knew it was part of my path. Cut a long story short, they couldn't work out what was wrong with me. I was in the most excruciating agony you could possibly imagine. I couldn't walk. I couldn't go to the toilet, the bathroom. I couldn't.
Oh my God, Nicky.
I couldn't talk. I woke up blind some days. I was so exhausted that I couldn't eat. I couldn't pull myself up.
Did you have anyone taking care of you or helping you?
5 years. I lost my home. I lost my holiday home. My partner at the time stole every penny that he could from my cash accounts and my credit accounts, which amassed to 65,000. He got it all, disappeared off. Nobody cares when you've had a road accident. Suddenly the book deals dried up, TV offers dried up, and I was working with a lot of celebrities that weren't happy that I couldn't do a reading for them anymore, because I was literally I was just catatonic. I was laying like the living dead, and I stayed in bed for 5 years.
Oh my God, Nicky. Did your deceased father visit you after the accident? What was that story about?
Yes. So what happened was, I'm glad you know what's going on, because I just go, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I got to keep you kind of on track here, because otherwise our people are going to leave the interview after about 45 hours. So we got to, I'm trying to keep you on track.
So anyway, I had the road accident, and he'd left. I was losing the house. I was losing my house down in Devon as well. And I basically, one of my darling friends from the police I used to dive with, scuba dive with, which was my passion, she came in, and I was literally suicidal. The prognosis was I was never going to get well. And she said, right, come on, we're taking you away to Turkey. So I said, no, you're not. And she goes, yes, you are, come on, we've got your passport, you're coming. So they will be into the airport, and basically kidnapped me and took me over to Turkey. When I was over there, that I made friends with Joe, who was their friend who owned the house. I went out again because I felt so much better in the sun. And someone knew that I was a psychic and said, we've got a psychic in the village. Would you like to swap readings? So we did swap readings. I brought her family through. It was incredible. And she basically said to me, my life's horrific. And I'm like, she said, oh, it's going to be so bad. And I'm like, I don't want to hear this. So I was a bit upset, came out and spoke to Joan, and I said, look, can I just go upstairs? Because I just need a bit of time to take on what she's told me.
You're in a wheelchair too, right?
And it was 45 degrees, right? This is important. It was 45 degrees. It was really, really hot. So I went up to the apartment, and her apartment, the windows were open. And so it must have been at least 30 degrees in there. It was still really hot in there. And I sat down, and as I sat down, I had mist coming out of my breath. And I thought, what the hell? It's like 45 degrees outside. Why am I breathing mist like it's freezing? And then I could get emotional. I never know when I talk about this. I heard, hello, darling. And I couldn't believe it. I am going to get emotional. Oh my dad is standing there with mist around the bottom of him and around him, and he turns, his full human face and body start to manifest into the room. Stage 5 manifestation, I call it. And I just went, Daddy, what? I can't believe you're here. And I literally watched him, and he come and sat down next to me on a chair. And I don't think it'll ever happen again. He obviously had got a deal with Gabriel, who assists in visitation and messenger, which I know he spoke to you as well. That's you work with Gabriel. And I went, what are you doing here? He goes, darling, I'm so sorry. I love you so dearly, but you are going to go through the worst time of your life. And I think the reason he came was to stop me from killing myself. I'm going to be brutally honest, because he said, but trust me, this is all for a reason. And he said, by 2019, and he showed me this really weird hill, like a mound of grass and whatever it was. And then the name David. And he said, by the time 2019, you'll be by the sea, you'll be absolutely fine, you'll have the best life ever, you'll find your soulmate. And he said, and you'll be working on the most deepest and most different way you've ever worked in your life. He said, it'll be so profound. And I'm thinking, what could that be? Because all I want to do is prove the afterlife. Anyway, if you want to hear the whole conversation, it's in the book.
But you're still proving the afterlife, kiddo, with your book and everything.
Tell me about it.
And the next thing I want to lead you to is there, aside from, this is amazing that your dad was speaking about the afterlife. I want you to educate everybody about dogs, cats, and domestic animals that you call earth angels, and this rainbow bridge that's known as Pet Heaven.
Yes. So my dad, by the way, after all of that, everything predicted came true. And now I'm living free of the demons. The spiritual boot camp was unbelievable. That's in that book. It was horrific. But now I'm calm, and I am now on a completely different level where I'm educating people, I'm writing, and I'm trying to bring the whole of humankind in on this healing vibration, because we're at the form, or like the brim of a reset. There is so much chaos in the world, which we'll talk about in a minute. So during this time that I've been the happiest I've ever been, I've met my soulmate, I'm doing my best to get back out there again. And it's hard to try and accrue the followers because, I've never done this before. I've always been there touring and all the rest of it. And during all this time, the two souls, which the seer told me about in Turkey, that kept me going were my two fur babies, my two little dogs, Mia and Teddy. And a couple of months ago, Mia passed. And this is an example of what I want to give people, okay? Because I have brought dogs through since year dot. Also, I've got a black Labrador. He's saying his name's Rex. And they go, oh, my God, that's my dog Rex. And the dog will tell me, he passed with a tumour behind his eye. They tell me. So they've got souls. So all animals can communicate with mediums because they have a soul. So when Mia passed, for instance, I'm like, right, hang on a minute. I'm normally the one giving the messages. You need to prove that you're over in Rainbow Bridge, darling. So unfortunately, I knew she was going to pass, and I knew it was when it was going to happen. I took her there, and I got the right archangels in, and I said, right, let me know when you're home, darlings. All I want you to do is let me know when you're home. So as I said earlier, normally the 2-day rule applies. 2 days after all my family and pets pass, they will come and tell me they're okay. So the second day after she passed, my partner says, Darren, he says, right, listen, we need to go away. You're so upset. Let's just go out for the day. And he took me to a place, Bodmin Goal, which is haunted. And I'd always wanted to go there. So he said, come on, I'll take you there and take you for lunch. And as we were going, there's a bridge between Devon and Cornwall called Tamar Bridge. And as we were getting on the bridge, I suddenly saw Mia in my third eye in my head. And I went, Mia, I said, is that you? Are you home? Are you safe? Are you well at Rainbow Bridge? And I said it out loud, and Darren looked at me, and I've done a video of this on my YouTube channel, and literally as I've said it, I said, do something to prove it's you, and I'm not making it up. A car pulls in front of us, and it has M666 Moo, and her nickname was Mia Moo. And 666 means that you have come through a transition and are now rested in a different dimensional place.
Wow.
And then I saw her standing at my grandma's feet. And I said, are you with Grandma, darling? Are you with Nanny? I said, just show me. And couldn't believe it. The next car is number, Eva. And that's my nan's name, Eva. And then when I get home, my brother Richard, who is a working full-time medium as well, phoned me up and he said, Mia's just got home. I said, I know. He goes, she's over the Rainbow Bridge, but she's staying with Nan. I said, I know. And that
was a validation also.
Yeah, and she visited him exactly the same time that she came to me, so that she knew. It was at 1:45 in the afternoon, and she knew that I'd say what time, and he said it was 1:45. I'm like, Wow.
Wow.
And the hits just kept on coming from there. Somewhere Over the Rainbow played on the radio later on. And so I know 100%. I've seen her. My partner, Darren, he's heard her crying at the door to be let out, has got up and thought it was Teddy and realised that Teddy's fast asleep. So she's made herself known. So what I'm telling you all is, and lots of people have exactly the same, if not more, love for their fur babies, no matter what shape or size they are. Okay, some of them, they are their babies. And it is a massive grief to undertake to lose them. But I categorically assure you that they are up and well and are being looked after by your family. And the reason why it's called Rainbow Bridges is there's a prism of light just before they go through their life review, which looks like a rainbow.
The animal also gets a life review?
Yes. Yeah, because they're earth angels, you see. So that's why they only get a short time here, because it's like a penance to be down here full time. And so they literally are here to help us through a certain thing. So if you look at your pets, look at how long they've been with you, when they turned up and when they went back home. Exactly the same as my other dog, Mina. She hung on in there and then knew the time was right to go back up. And I knew the day she was going up as well. The angels told me. And so I know they're there. That's why I've done a guided meditation, visiting your pets in heaven, because I've said to them, I said to my lot, guides and angels, look, give me the inspiration, the right music. So I've produced the music. I've produced everything that can make it conducive for anyone, because we're all spirit in a human meat suit. So we can all connect in. So all we have to do.
At the end of this interview, when we show this with the show notes and all, we'll have your links so that people can get on your website and they can get that meditation to communicate with their animal. And I want to ask another question. I have so many things to ask you. I want to ask you a question. If the animal has been abused and they go to they go up on the Rainbow Bridge and they get their life review, I know I've heard many times that there are healing places for people on the other side. Are there healing places also for the animals on the other side? What is that like?
I've seen, it's the Celestial Garden. The thing is, it's the same as what I said when I said I didn't read about you. I don't read up on anything. It's all organic. So the information that comes to me from above through meditation or dream state, I then, if I have to, Google it to confirm it. And so I remember going to a place called the Crystal Palace, which apparently is huge. I didn't know. The Akashic Records I didn't know about until someone told me. And I go through this door. I've taken hundreds, thousands of students there. And there's a man map of heaven they've created, so you know where you're going. And I walk up to the seraphim, who interestingly used to sing to me after bouts of abuse when I was a teenager, because I recognised their song. They work on the sound frequency of song and music. And I've seen them heal. There was a horse there once. And when I saw this, and then a man came to me and, I kind of spoke of his family, didn't care. And then I said, you've got the horse, haven't you? You've got the horse that had the twisted gut and the tumour in the gut. And I went, I've just seen her getting healed up in the Celestial Garden. It's like, oh my God. And he was so excited and upset at the same time. So it's the same place. People will know it's the fountain of youth or the fountain of life. It has lion heads, first of all, that represent the seraphim as warriors also, because they go and pick people up on mass things like tsunamis, war. They pick them up, bring them back up to Celestial Garden, to this fountain. The next water lion are lotus flowers, in my vision, could be different for other people. Then it comes into a big layer, which is also the portal for going down to heaven from down to the earth plane. This is where the seraphim hang out. They are big Grecian type angels. They're the only ones that have dark hair. And I've had healing from them, and they've shown me animals being healed there as well, broken souls, murder victims, soldiers. I've seen them all up there. And this translucent stuff that comes from this pool is like an elixir. It's like an ethereal, wonderful, beautiful healing mechanism that heals the soul from anything that has been scarred with on the earth plane. And literally, as soon as this happens,
that is so comforting with what's going on in this world. Wow.
And you have your life review, and then you go home. And I remember, because I signed the Akashic Records. I never heard of them in my life until someone told me 6 months later, when you can sign the Akashic Records. And you don't even know what they are. I went, no. I said, I thought it was made up. He's like, oh my God. So he said, go up there. You can see people's souls, for goodness sakes. I've never abused it, but I did it with my uncle. And so the soul is taken up by Azrael. Azrael is the archangel. And I'm telling you now, you have heard his voice, darling, because
That's the voice that came into my head? Who was
yes,
that?
you have. He told you, did you know that you were going to have the road accident or you were going to lose your husband? Yes. Azrael, oh my God, I'm goosing up. I'm so sorry.
That was Gabriel? Was that Gabriel?
Azrael at that point.
Azrael.
You've had discarnate voices in your head, and that's Gabriel. So I don't know if you love gold, yellow, or you're attracted to coppery yellow, gold colours, but that's what Gabriel works on. What are you wearing?
I have gold on me. I have yellow on me. I have a yellow watch on.
Gabriel.
But I have always wondered, because you and I, we didn't tell, you don't know my story, but when my husband, 2 months before my husband died, a message came into my head and it said, Saul has to go. Many lessons will be learned from his death. And then in the middle of the accident, as we were flipping 4 times up in the air,
oh my God,
and landed upside down on the New York State Thruway, another message I got when we went up in the air the first time was, he's not going to make it, you are. And then the second time, I left my body for a little while and came back. And then after the 4th flip, and they pulled me out of the car, a male voice, I tell people it was a male voice, came into my head and said, be loving and kind to everyone as they laid me on the side of the road. So I want to know, I'm finding out from you today, was that Gabriel giving me the messages? And
yes.
As
100%.
The voice?
Oh my, I'm stunned. I'm so sorry. I didn't realise how horrific and how, oh my good God. You are an earth angel and you're an enabler. And so you agreed before you came down here with Soul that this would happen because of the crisis on the planet. You are now reaching millions of people and giving them the reality of what's happening. So the more people come into our flock, the more they connect up the angels, the more they learn about compassion, love, healing, humility, and the more they will start raising their children that way, so that the planet on the reset will have nothing but more love and compassion, because at the moment it's filled with war, hate, abuse of animals, children, the planet. Mother Gaia is going mental. She's like, you're abusing the planet, I'm kicking off. That's why there's these forest fires, earthquakes,
absolutely. Oh, it's a mess.
tsunamis.
We'll talk about that more, but it's fascinating to me because you just gave me the answers that I always wondered, who was that voice that came into my head?
I know it.
And who gave me those messages? And the other thing I've been told over and over and over again, which is happening, is that this podcast is a divine plan. And my husband is working with from the other side. And we had a life plan that this would happen if certain things didn't happen in his life, that he would be early. And with faith, with all that's happened, this is what's happening. And this podcast is helping so many people. I'm so humbled by it, Nikki.
But do you know what, darling? Sorry for me to interrupt, but do you know what? You could have been a victim, you could have stayed in your grief, and you could have hated the world and turned it on its arse and said, do you know what? My soulmate's gone, I hate you, I'm not doing it. And you didn't. And it's the same as what they did with me. They dragged me kicking and screaming back, though, I will say, what they did. But you have turned this into something so beautiful and so tangible. You're going to leave this legacy. When you go back up and meet back up with Soul, you will look at the legacy that you've imprinted on the planet, and you will be one of those plaques in the halls of learning that changed humankind. You will be there in the Akashic Records, along with thousands, millions of others that have changed humankind. You are magnificent. I knew there was something special about you.
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad that I didn't look you up.
Now you're going to make me cry. You know, the whole purpose of this podcast is really to have people become conscious. What I said to you, I need to help people understand. So with that, because we'll be talking another hour, tell me this. People get so worried about with COVID and all. And I know the answer to this, darling, but people don't know the answer to this. Do people ever die completely alone even if their loved ones cannot be at their bedsides when they transition. When you hear of all these horrible things happening in the world, when people are getting attacked and all that, what happens if their human friends, lovers, whatever, can't be there? Who is there for them?
I'm going to cover both aspects of this. One, if they're like, they're passing, they're in hospital and they're due to go. And also murder victims, short deaths, quick deaths, suicides, it's there. We've got to talk about it. For the people that are and it happens, my goodness, if I had a fiver, if I had £5 or even $5 for every single person that said this to me, I would be in a mansion right now. Well, I wouldn't actually. I would open an animal rescue centre or something. But anyway, and I'd get my own angel cards. Apart from that, every single time I hear it, I just think, I've heard this 1,000 times. They say, I just popped out for a coffee and my mum died. I just went out for 5 minutes and my dad passed. I can't believe it. He was on his own. No. Because if I literally have brought thousands of people through from the spirit world where they all say, I was totally awake, I was totally aware, even if I was in a coma, even if I was this, that. And I say, right, you had your sister there, your brother there, said your mum was holding his hand, you had your uncle there, and this is what happened. It was Tuesday, it was 2 p.m, and then he passed over. And they go, so I said, he's totally aware of what you said, what you did. They know what you've put in their coffins. They know what happened at the funeral. They know everything.
So even though they're in a coma, even though they appear to us that they're out of it, their soul is aware of everything that's going on.
Yeah, I'll tell you very quickly on that in a minute. Remind me for the coma and dementia. So what happens is they do that, but also they tell me who else is there. Some of them go, there was this dodgy angel there. He was like creamy white. And some people call it the death stare, where they see this angel. That's Archangel Azrael. He's the archangel that presides over us during death and just before it, and brings us comfort and strength to get through something, okay? So he's there. But also, there'll be family members there. How many times have you heard people go, my dad went, Mama, or they go, oh, hey, sister, because they've come down to meet them, to give them that comfort, to say it's okay, let go, it's fine. They are never, ever alone. They can also choose when to pass, and they've done that in their life plan. Your beginning and end is definite. It never changes. So they'll say, no, I don't want...
Hold it. So people want to know that. We all have planned I thought that we have several exit points.
No. No, from what I've seen, as I say, I can't say if I'm wrong or right. I can just tell you what I've been shown, and then it's shown time and time again. And my dad even came down and said to me, I'm so sorry, Nicky. I did have a choice that I could stay down here, but I was going to be a vegetable. And that was the option. And in my life plan, I said, no, I need to die. I know it's going to create absolute hell, and it has. My mum was broken. My whole family were broken to pieces. However, there was a reason for all of it, because we all planned that. And so what happens is that they choose who they want to see pass with them. So at the times I've heard, I didn't want my daughter to see me taking my last breath. So I waited for her to go for a coffee. But she knew to go for a coffee because one of her guides or an angel or someone would have said, go for a coffee. So she's, I'll go for a coffee. And they're like, great, because that's when he's going to pass. Do you know what I mean? So they have who they want there. So if you've missed their passing, it was their choice. They did not want you to see that happen. And the times I've had to deal with people grieving, so they can't get out of their mind the last breath their loved one took. So they are never, ever alone.
We're not now, if you've got
someone, if it doesn't have to be hospital environment, let's talk about someone that's murdered, okay? And I think this is going to be most probably very interesting and very, very important for people that know people that have been murdered, right? Because you've not only got the anger of dealing with the person that took their life, but the pain and the misery that person went through. If they were kidnapped or tortured, this is a reality of what's going on in humankind, unfortunately. However, I can categorically assure you, I promise you, every single murder victim I've seen, from a 2-year-old to an 80-year-old, they stand there next to me and go, that's what happened to me. And I never feel how they were murdered. If I had a heart attack, I'll feel it. If I had dementia, I can feel the cloud going over my head, right? Never, ever have I felt a murder, ever. They've shown me it. So what I remember, thank God I did it once. I said, why are you showing me it like this? Why are you standing there? And, oh, thank you, angels. He said, because I was pulled out of my body before it happened. And I went, really? He goes, oh, yeah, it happens all the time. We don't go through that trauma. We remember it and we witness it. But by the time we've had a review and healing, it's like a distant memory.
That is so comforting.
I know. And another lady, she was stabbed at least 60 times by her jealous ex-lover. And she was the same. She went, oh, look at what happened. It's bloody horrible, isn't it? Tell me, sister, though, I didn't feel a bloody thing. I didn't feel a thing. I was up there getting healed. And she goes, it's a bit like childbirth. She goes, not great at the time because you're watching it. She goes, I didn't even feel it. She said, but, you know, when you're up there, it's a bit like childbirth. You know, it was kind of like a real, not a great entry to the spirit world. But it doesn't matter because you're healed and it's just part of a tiny notch in your soul that is infinite. So one lifetime is like a speck of salt in a huge ocean. And when you get back up there, you realise that. And this is what I try and teach people to, you know, and say, look, don't hang on the soul that's gone up. Don't hang on to what could have possibly happened because they didn't suffer. Also, don't worry if you can't pay that bill. Try and stay level with all of the human obstacles that take place because it really doesn't matter. You know, at the end of the day, you will go back. You won't remember half of the materialistic crap you got.
But I want to ask you something else because you were raped. You were raped. Did your soul leave your body when that was happening to you? Like when you hear all these horrific things when women get raped?
No.
So what happens in that? All right. So it's so comforting to know, like we're hearing about these horrific murders now. It's so comforting to know that their souls left their bodies and they didn't actually, that happened to their body, but they went on. What happens to these ladies who get raped and all of that kind of thing?
Well, just a lot of people scientifically say if they survive it, you know, I've dealt with obviously hundreds of rape victims during my time as a detective, and they kind of, the scientific thing they describe it as is that their brain just closes down and they just go through the motions of it and then come out, and then obviously they get the shock of coming out of it and going through it. And they say scientifically it's just your brain shutting down because of trauma. I don't believe that. I believe that it's either a guide, angel energy, or something comes into your essence, removes your soul, lets the body have whatever happens to it, and then they put the soul back in. And unfortunately, the soul then has to grieve what happened to that body. That's how I see it. So when we talk about these horrific massacres that have taken place in the name of war, again, it's just literally the babies. It doesn't matter how old the baby, the child, the person is, they will not go through that horror. They will not go through it. And the people that witness it, right, they'll go up and it will be cleansed from them, where they'll talk about it, matter of factly, and they'll say to me, oh, yeah, you know, I've had a man come through who slit, I hope it's not too graphic, but he literally did this to his twin nephew and niece. And it was quite matter of fact, and the nan was there, who was the mum. And I'm like, do you know, nans normally talk about baking and cakes, and suddenly I'm seeing this bloodbath. And she goes, yeah, my brother killed my babies. And I'm like, and she said, but he was exposed to mustard gas in the war. He didn't mean to do it. And we've all been healed from it. He had to go to a place to heal, to learn from it. But because it wasn't his evil intention, and he was judged in the cherubim chamber, he judged himself, came back and knew it's because he was exposed to a human-made substance. But they talk about it like they've gone to buy a Mars bar in the sweet shop or a Hershey's
It's so
bar.
comforting. And what about people who purposely commit evil? What goes on with their souls, Nikki?
Oh, it's horrific. So again, I asked, look, I need to see purgatory, or I need to see, you know, what the bad side of it is. And Juliana said, in TikTok time. So then eventually he then says, brace yourself. And when my granddad comes, I know I'm going to really dark, deep stuff. So I said, right, okay. So I was a bit worried. He took me to purgatory. Purgatory is where evil souls or dark souls hang out, fearing the wrath of God, judgment of their families. They stay as perpetual energy, which then turns into like real.
Is it a different plane that they go to? Is that
yes,
what you're trying to say? Go to?
Totally. So
the Hitlers of the world and all of that.
Like Hitler, he's not purgatory. What happens with people like him is, and I saw this, and they said this is what would happen if it was. They called him Hitler, right? So I think it's Hitler. So they said this is what happened with Hitler's soul, right? We'll show you. So it's a Akashic record thing as well. So they said, right, you know, you can go up to that realm. So what they do is they go to, like, Azrael takes the soul, right, and also looks after everybody around death, takes the soul up to Jeremiah. Okay, Jeremiah's the archangel that does your life review, and he can create whatever image he likes that you're comfortable with. So if you're like Muslim, it might be the shape of Allah or Muhammad. If you were like aliens, it might be the shape of an alien, whatever, or Jesus.
That's why Paul got bagels in heaven. His mother gave him bagels and coffee.
Oh yeah, the comfort thing, did she? That is so cool, because they do. It's like, for instance, I remember one man saying, oh, I was so happy. My father showed me my sailboat and said, you could be on this in a minute. And he's like, yes.
Yeah, that's how they get affirmated. Exactly. So for people who know what's going on, the evil going on.
Right, yes, evil.
Who are so hurtful and evil, they go to a different place, and they can't manifest again, can they? Can they reincarnate?
No. So what happens is, right, they go up, and there's a place, again, I'm going to try and cut it really short, but there's a place called the Cherubim Chamber that I've taken those students to. And what they do is they come, and there's a milky pond, right? And so they showed me Hitler's soul walking into the pond, right? And then there's these like tadpoles called sentients, right? And they go in and out of the soul, and they register with the water what the soul's reflected with. So it's like a karmic, right, we're going to see what you've done, and then you're going to face it, and you're going to be cooked in it, right? Wow. So then the cherubim come down from the walls, those cute cherubim, and their faces turn to oxen and lion. I'm like, what the hell? Turns out that's Old Testament stuff. Couldn't believe it. Biblical stuff. And I don't do the Bible, but I couldn't believe it when I Googled it. Anyway, they look down with the faces of judgment, the right hand of God, right? Couldn't believe it. And they look, and then I felt they put me almost in the soul. So I was like laying next to the soul. The sentients had delivered what the soul had done, and then they were creating the soul living what they went through, and it started boiling up, right? The water started boiling, and it turned into black tar, and the wretchedness, the pain, the evil that was reflected back on that soul was so horrific. Eventually the soul completely dissipated. It just smashed to pieces, right? And then the water just went back to calm again and milky, and then the cherubim got up, the face changed to normal cherubs, they went back in the wall. I couldn't believe it. I came back feeling my heart palpitating. What was that? And they said, God doesn't judge anybody. You will be having to face your judgment on your behaviour, your actions and your words. Good luck with that. So like now, you know, when I see all these fake mediums and evil people and murderers, kidnappers, tyrannical leaders, I think, oh, hell, you are so going to get it. And so that really
so they get a life review in a way. They get a life review. They feel everything that they did to everyone else.
Yes, they feel. So if they like say that a serial killer, they will go through every single cut, bite, hurt, punch, whatever it is, 1,000 million fold. I can't even explain it. It was so horrific and so dark that my granddad was like holding my soul, saying, it's okay. I said, I don't like this, get me out. And I was panicking like hell. I'm not going to lie. And he's going, just you've got to watch it. You've got to watch it to tell people, because these people need to know that they're not going to go up to heaven. There's some idiots on, you know, online and on TikTok that go, oh yeah, they're healed and everything's great. Absolute rubbish. You've got people like Hitler. You've got people that are just these tyrannical Putin, people like that. They've got no chance. And what happens is...
So wait, I'm still not understanding. So Hitler goes, he gets his life review. Everything gets magnified. He feels through eternity, everything he did to all these people. Now, what after he's experienced all this, does Hitler go somewhere to heal, or is his soul obliterated?
No, he goes into that white milky pool, right? And this is what they were showing me. And then the pool just started bubbling black, like black tar. And the cherubims' faces changed, and when I googled it, it is part of the Old Testament. And thou shalt change their faces to oxen and lion to judge the soul before them as the right hand of God. And I'm like, oh my God,
yeah, but
it's
I
true.
don't understand. So does Hitler will never be back?
No,
he'll never reincarnate. Is his soul obliterated now? Is it like
he's totally dissipated? It's because he literally was faced with his own judgment. And his soul couldn't take it. He was just boiled alive for most probably, they don't have time over there, but that's most probably lasted for years.
I always used to say he'll be in a tree through eternity. He's not coming back. You know,
no, he's gone. He's just dissipated. They say that souls can't dissipate. Those ones can. I don't know how, I don't know why, but they've shown me that and then backed it up.
Really?
And it's the same like purgatory. The people that are scared to go up, they just stay in this filth for eons of time. And if they can ever get, you know, higher up, this is where like they talk about demons and all that kind of stuff. But the baddies and people that kill people, hurt people, maim people, they go through it up there. Oh, they go through it. So on a live review, Jeremiah won't even bother. He'll just say, you're going to the cherubim chamber. And the reason I know it is because I take students up there and they go, oh, we went into a place with cherubims in the wall and there was this white milky pool. And I'm like, yes, people keep talking about it and writing about it. It exists. Nobody can just make it up randomly. And I've seen it, and then I came back, and then I turned the telly on. There was like a program about Hitler, so they do realistic things down here to back up what I've seen, because I always worry that I'm saying what I might have thought in my head. And then when I Google it, and it's and a lot of it is in the Old Testament, so someone's got it right. Someone, a seer or a medium, wrote in that part of the Bible, because I see the Bible, no disrespect, as just a man-made, multi-translated book of rules and wrath. But when I Googled it and wrote, you know, cherubim, lion faces and oxen face, I thought, I cannot believe what I'm reading. It's there in black and white in the Old Testament. So I know it's right, and I know that's what happens to
Nicky.
dirty souls.
So, Nicky, listen, we're running, our time is getting close. So I'm going to give you a bunch of questions now.
Yep.
We're going to go and you just answer them, and then we'll come to the end, because I know your new book, that's amazing. We should have another interview just about that. Your new book reveals all these miracles, incredible messages as people are realizing as they're hearing your interview here. So one of the things, I'm just going to ask you a question. How do you get the best out of a medium?
Don't go if you're grieving or if you're angry. No genuine medium will accept you if you're in the raw stages of grief. You have to accept that your loved one has passed over, and you have to be at a level. I know you're desperate to get a message from them, but please do not push it. You need to make sure that you're in a really relaxed energy. If you sit down in front of a medium and you're talking more than them, get up and walk out. That's called cold reading. And unfortunately, there are bad apples along with the whole of the barrel, okay? Sorry, darling, isn't it? And the thing is that you need to make sure that you're going to a reputable medium, because I'm telling you now, there are certain mediums out there that have got the money or the backing to create all this magical film stuff and all this makeup and all these really, you know, cool backlit things. I've waited years to just have this, my little wall.
So that's the other thing I love that you talk about. Are celebrity mediums worth all that money that they get?
Do you know what? I don't care. I've got nothing to prove. At the end of the day, even when I was at my highest, I could have charged whatever I wanted. People were coming from America and Australia for reading with me, okay? They were coming for hundreds of miles, thousands of miles to see me, and I would not change my it was £50, I think it was, for a reading for an hour. Most of the time I'd stay in for 2 hours. I never changed it. I think it's absolutely disgusting that all these people that have got, you know, all their management and all of their I'm brilliant, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a brilliant medium, because what happens is, and I've seen it, that they are amazing when they're just like little old me, just humble, doing what they're doing. And then as they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, their ego starts giving it, oh, I'm worth millions, darling. Yes, I'm going to charge you $300 for half an hour. And you're like, what? Are you taking the mickey? No. And so unfortunately, their ego, and I'm not talking about all celebrity mediums, absolutely not.
No.
But all I'm saying is, exactly, do not pay the money, for goodness sake. Look at the mediums that have got reputable. Doesn't matter if they haven't got a Fandangle. I haven't. Fandangle green screens and, you know, an editor to do your filming. I'm trying my best to try and get out there with just me. That's all I've got. I can't afford all of that. So don't think just because they've got all sparkly lights and thousands of followers that they're brilliant. Get word of mouth, recommendations. Also, if they are charging over like $80 for an hour, $100, $200, you really need to seriously think about that, because we're supposed to be, yes, we need to charge because we've got to live a material life. We've got to pay our bills. So it is our job. It's not, we're not manipulating people or forcing people to come to us. They come to us asking for our help, our healing, our guidance.
Because they're referred to you for word of mouth when someone
exactly. So don't pay the money, guys. Please don't. Just please don't do that. And just look at the feedback and see if it is, because nowadays you can pay for like great feedback and reviews. Try and do a recommended one, and if you want to go to their shows, that's fine. But then some of their shows I've seen in the past, they're not the same as Elton John or Madonna or something. You're like, what? $250 just to come and sit there and hope you get a reading? I don't think so. And so please don't pay the money, okay? If they're asking questions, the only thing that a medium should be saying to you is, do you understand that? Or sometimes, and it is a nightmare, they'll just go bang. And I say, who's Christopher? He keeps saying Christopher, he's not telling me who it is. Who's Christopher? Oh, that's my son. And you go, perfect. Right, okay, so Christopher. And so then you go, right, so all you're doing is confirming things sometimes, and a good medium will be able to recall information and send it back up if it doesn't make sense. So if I say to you, what's 25 State Street? And they go, I don't know. Hang on a minute. And I go, so she don't know what you're talking about, love. And they go, no, it's not State Street, it's Cake Street. And they go, oh, it's Cake Street, sorry. Do you know what I mean? So they will, so that's the only kind of thing you need to be doing as a medium, confirming they understand it. And also the medium needs to be full of empathy. And if you walk in and you think, I don't really like that person, don't have the reading, because you will not gel with them.
Right,
okay?
Right. You have to follow your instinct.
Can I just say one more thing as well? This is the most important thing that creates the biggest block for a medium ever. Right, just say you want your mum to come through, right? And you sit down and the medium starts bringing in your uncle and your aunt. You think, what the hell are they doing here? It may be because your uncle and aunt can't get through to their family, okay? Or sometimes it's relaxing you and warming you up so you're ready to hear from your mum. But what happens is, because people don't want to hear from all these other people, they just want to go, no,
from that other person, right?
Then say, so you don't understand that, uncle? No. I said, well, I think you do, because he's just said that you've just had twins. Oh, yeah, well, I do know him. I don't want him. Whoa, hang on a minute. You can't choose who comes. Just accept it. Don't be rude to whoever comes through. Because if you're blocking them, you're blocking me, and I will not be able to bring through who may want to come and see you. And they go, oh, sorry. They go, and it is like wading through treacle when someone just wants one person. Relax yourself, be open to anything, and that will give you more 99%.
Well, I'm going to add something to this, because I just recently had a reading with a medium, and I was looking for my husband, of course. And what happened to me was my husband, the medium, said to me, Saul is standing to the side and he's bringing your father, because my father needed to talk with me, and my father needed to heal some things that had gone on in my childhood. And I never looked for my father. Well, guess what? In this particular session, my father, it was time for me to heal this piece with my father. So if I had said, oh, no, I just want to hear from Saul, I would not have been open to hearing this really healing other piece that needed to
You would have
happen.
manipulated the reading. That's absolutely right.
Exactly. Let me ask you another thing. What else would you like everyone to know about your book? Because we're talking about your wonderful book. Is there anything I haven't covered or that you want people to know? Nicky?
Do you know what? I do a lot of signed books, and one of the main things I write in there, I always feel the energy of the person and give them a personal message. But one thing that I know, when you read that book, it made me laugh and cry, and it will you, because it's so organic and it's so raw and it's so just me. It's so down to earth, no convoluted, look how amazing I am. I don't like saying that at all, but it will give you 100%. If you don't feel that there is an afterlife after reading this, I don't know what else you need to read. It is proving beyond any doubt, and it's the same as this book. It's the same message for both books and the third one that's coming out. Is that no matter what you go through, no matter what is thrown at you, no matter how bad your life gets, one, you're never alone. And two, always try and visualize that someone will be standing there holding your back, holding your hand and taking you through it. You are never, ever alone. I guarantee you.
By a woman who had a debilitating accident and was like a mess, and she was not alone, right?
Never. You are never alone.
Even though you don't see them physically here.
Exactly. You have to have the faith. Keep the faith, because, you know, when you're depressed, grieving, broken, having mental health issues, whatever it is, your energy is so dense that you are not going to be able to be open to seeing phenomena as easier, because the energy of spirit and the energy of us is hard enough as it is to me. So when you're even lower, they're trying to desperately show you they're there. And I've been there and I witnessed it for years, because all I wanted to do was kill myself, because the prognosis was I was going to lay in my bed and wet myself for the rest of my life. And then suddenly I realised it was me that cut them off. And then when I surrendered, in this book you'll read about that, when I surrendered, the miracles that took place. So they were teaching me to teach you beautiful people out there.
Exactly.
Open up, plug in, and you will never, ever feel alone again. There is not an hour that doesn't go by. I just automatically do it where I say, thank you, Ariel. That's who I work with at the moment. Thank you, Archangel Michael. And I just know they're there, and their presence, it's just laughable how they do it. I just said the other day when I was walking along the beach, I just really want to reach more people. Please help me do that. Please bring the right people in front of me, because I'm not reaching enough people. And then this feather comes from nowhere and lands right in front of my foot. I took a photo of it and put it on Instagram. And I'm like, oh. And then I end up talking to someone like you, darling. You know, and it's literally, they are helping us every step of the way.
So wonderful.
You know, our spirit people sometimes forget how hard it is down here, because they've been healed. They're loving it up there. They're eating bagels and going sailing and doing whatever they want to do. However, angels know that we need a help, that we need a hand, and they all do it through numerology, through fragrances, through angel visualizations and images, white feathers, swans, dragonflies, cardinal birds. They will bring messages, same as our lot do, our spirit people do, and guides will bring things to you to say, this is a sign to tell you we've got you. You know, we know you're going through it, but please know that you chose this. You're an old soul. You've chosen a hard challenge this time around, because utopia that is a spirit world, you get bored. So you choose these challenges down here, and they try and remind you of that. And that's why they've shown me my previous lives, and I've visited them, and they've proven to be right, because I can say to you, yes, I'm not some airheaded tree hugger. I was a police detective that demanded evidence. So every single thing I say is through evidence that they've shown me, categorically shown me, and have said, wow, we are here, you're there, we're helping you, and that's what you've got to let humankind know. It's a hard job, amazing. But I think you love it.
I want to ask you two or three more things. And you say that spirit people stay really true to who they were down here, be they scoundrel or saint. Yes. And we've been talking about the fact they go for their life reviews and all of that. Can you tell us about the healing that takes place on the other side? Because in my particular case, when my father came through, he was very abusive, but then he came through to say, look at what I did. I was ignorant. I didn't know what was happening. This is why I behave this way. But can you see me as a stepping stone and let go? I think that he's been healing on the other side. I think that he's been hanging around me, and he's been learning a lot, and he's been changing, because it was him, but there was a tone in his voice or a way he was coming across that was not the him that I experienced when I was a child. Do they heal on the other side, Nicky? What is that like? Aside from the Hitlers and all, does the ordinary person who's hurt their neighbor, said vicious things, whatever happened in their lives, stole or whatever, can they heal on the other side before they come back into another body? How does that work?
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, you know, what we've got to realise is the human ego, which Julianus calls the lion, can overwhelm the mouse. So certain society, humankind imprints on that soul can create the ego to create bad behaviour, which was never intended to happen. So, you know, lots of people say, is it nurtured or is it nature? It's both. Some are born evil, and some, you know, they're either abused or there's something's happened in their life that's created the monster within. And even though the mouse, the divine essence of their soul, is trying to tell them this is wrong, come on, heal, they're not going to have it, because they're lion mode, and they're going to go along with what they think they should be doing, breaching their contract of their life expectancy. We don't want to get too deep. Sometimes
they're breaching the contracts that they set up for their lives.
Yeah, but sometimes the contract will be honoured. So, for instance, I remember with the thing that my mum married, I was told to honour his contract because his contract made me who I was today. And I went, really? I asked for that? And it's not, please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that victims ask for anything. Please don't ever think that. But all I'm saying is that I'm an old soul, and part of the contract was for him to do that. So I say, thank you for honouring your contract. I say to the man who stole all my stuff, thank you for honouring your contract. Right, so that's me feeling like I'm not renting them for free while I'm a human down here. When they go up, however, they haven't like killed someone. They haven't gone in, they don't, you know, sometimes if it's that dire, Jeremiah will just say, do not pass go, go straight to the cherubim chamber. However, what he can do, and I've seen this before, where he'll sit, and sometimes I've seen Metatron, who scribes the Akashic records, do the same thing, where he'll say, we need to talk about your life plan, because you actually created hell down there, didn't you? Oh, yeah, because no, you created hell. So we need to take you to another level. Now, this other level is the same as, do you know, I told you about the nan that came through to a granddaughter and her brother had killed her children, a mustard gas man. I said, hold the phone. I said, I'm going to cancel my next client. I said, please let me speak with your nan. Do you mind? And I said to her, tell me, where is he? And so she said, there is another layer through the halls of learning, which I've been to, and you go into that layer of consciousness and you are taught what went wrong and you heal from that, and you're shown the repercussions and you feel the karma, not as fierce as the cherubim chamber, but you're shown your karma and you're like, wow. And they say, yeah. And then you obviously then spend, it could be years, it could be, I don't know how long, because obviously there's no time there, but we have what Juliana's calls TikTok time here. But they spend time until their soul is of equilibrium. And Raguel then says, he's the archangel of balance and harmony. He then deems that soul balanced enough to then come back into your soul cluster because they've learned their lesson, because they've breached that contract. And lots of people say to you, what about people that kill themselves? Are they breaching their contract? I don't know. It may be their contract may have been, I'm going to take myself over. I want to learn that experience. Or if they've breached their contract and gone back too early, then most people have to do it again. But again, that's for their journey in the
and they don't really get punished. That's part of their plan, and they work that through. I know that. Nikki, I want to also ask you, what is going on with all the chaos on this planet?
Do you know what? Again, I'm going to sound really stupid now, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, you didn't know about that? I knew about this. My new book, which is called Earthwalkers for Children of the Light, is actually a fictional book coming out. However, it is fact, because I wrote it when I was in bed, the same time as I wrote this. I had a dream, and it was the most incredibly powerful dream, which I knew was actually a channeling, because it went on for 5 hours. And it was about the end of the world, and that there was a high court held up in heaven, and they were deciding whether to keep the planet going or not because of the amount of hate. There was also this thing going around. I predicted COVID in it. I predicted the arena bombings. And I wrote this 9 years ago. And so I started looking at that, and I started asking my guide, wow, this is an amazing book. I said, you sure? And I thought it was fiction, because I thought our world can't get that bad in 9 years. And so he said, just watch and wait, Nicola. And then he said to me, we're coming to a crescendo. And he showed me like a file, like a tank, if you like. And he showed me this red water going up. And he said, as soon as that brims, it will topple, and that will be the grand reset. And he said, But for the time being, Mother Gaia and Archangel Ariel, who presides over the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom, are absolutely raging because they've dawned a planet with the seraphim. This is all in my new book, but it says fiction, spiritual fantasy, but it's not really, it's true. So I've done characters and everything, and my editor says, no, keep it as fiction, but it's all true. And so what happens is that they are now kicking off, and they're creating all, as I said, the tsunamis, the earthquakes. They're kicking back. They're just trying to defend the planet and almost throw the human beings away from the nature places that are trying to preserve, right? Also, you know, with the COVID thing as well, I feel it's just a natural culling. They're trying to bring down humankind because, as in my book, and as I've been told,
are they trimming the herd in a way?
Do you know what?
The other thing I want to ask you is, how long until, with this grand reset, with all this hell that we're going through, is there a timing in your mind when things are going to start to calm down?
It's going to start 26, and 32 is the other side of the grand reset. So what they've said. So
we're in for like 2.5 or so more years of chaos. And then things are going to start to get better in 2026. Yeah,
because how he backed it up for me, Irene, was he said to me, the Schumann Residence is assisted in this. I went, Schumann Residence? I said, what's that? Never heard of it, right? And so I Googled it. It's called the Schumann Resonance. Never heard of it. I felt so embarrassed because everybody knew about it when I mentioned it on my YouTube channel, right? And it's basically the heartbeat of the universe. And it's a healing vibration that kind of reverberates through nature to recreate rebirth. And it's a vibration that even scientists now have recorded the frequency of, and it went off the scale in June apparently, which I didn't know about. And this heartbeat is basically trying to reverberate through humankind to get all the filth out of all the souls that's going on. During the time of this is the beginning of the reset that's happening. So what's happening is that tyrannical leaders, politicians, people that have got, you know, the billions that are trying to, like Bill Gates, people like that, they're going to start getting rid of them. They're going to start getting rid of them or expose them. And also what they're doing is they're bringing in people like me and you and all the other brilliant people that are online trying to bring this to the masses. We're trying to incorporate humility, responsibility for the earth plane, for animals, for children, for nature, for the planet. And so we can teach the next generations. And all of this is a plan implemented. If it doesn't take a turn by 26, this is what they were saying is, what they're doing is, and please, again, I don't want to be disrespectful to people that died of COVID or in war or anything like that, but they've said the younger souls will just dissipate. But the older souls, the ones that can use telekinesis, the higher vibration, 5-dimensional, which I didn't know anything about either, the 5-dimensional beings will be taken to another planet that they can comfortably communicate with the elders there through telekinesis. They won't like go, oh my God. However, the younger souls that won't be able to handle that will just dissipate or will take them out in the culling. And I'm like,
they go to other places to exist. I've been told that there are other planets and other systems, and
there is.
Can't handle the higher vibrations coming onto this planet.
Exactly. Right. So all the souls that can handle the high vibration will be evacuated and taken up there. So either it will be they will influence someone to push the button, or the whole place will just burn up or flood or whatever is going to happen. But really, you know, but all these films and movies, you see, the end of the world is nigh. This I was told to me 9 years ago, and it's my new book that's coming out. It's just been edited at the moment. And I did, as I said to my editor, do you want me to put this as fact? Because this is, I said, I've literally, from 9 years ago, even COVID I predicted in it. I said, I predicted all this in a story. He said, no, keep it as fiction because people will recognise in it and go, wow, we need to wake up and deal with this. We need to start showing humility.
That's part of the podcast. We need to wake them up. I'm trying to, make people conscious. But what I'm taking from this is that things, hopefully, with the help of a lot of us light workers and what is going on this planet, things are going to start getting better in 2026. And in 2036 ought to be a sweet spot in the
2032. Can I just add something?
Say that again. Wait, you corrected me with what?
2032 is
32, not 36. Oh, wow, that's not that long.
Yeah.
That's 6 years.
2026, 2032. And I'll tell you what else is they also said we've sent crystal children and millennium children down. That started just before the millennium. And the crystal children, the indigo children, are children with ADHD, Down syndrome, autism, okay? Because these beautiful children of the light, which is part of all my book's about, right? They are the ones that are going to show. If you ever notice that autistic children, Down syndrome children are nothing but pure joy. And they connect with nature, sound frequency. That's how they communicate. That's how they feel calm, because they are more up in the spirit world than they are down here. They are sending these beautiful children down here. And unfortunately, typical humans give them these tag names, autistic and spectrum and God knows what. And they're like, oh God, they're disabled. No, they're bloody not. They are the savior of this planet, because they will, in their own beautiful way, teach people material world is just absolutely... There's nothing. Material world is nothing. You come in the world, as they say, naked with nothing. You go out in the world. Materialism is just rubbish. It's just a fake matrix that we have to adhere to live our lives in the meat suit. But they are teaching humility, love, joy, and no matter what their disabilities are, or the fact they can't even, some are non-verbal that can't even communicate, they're happy. Give them water. And why are they happy with water? Because water is a conduit of the spirit world, and they recognise that, because that's like home. And so all these beautiful children that these people keep marring with disabilities and saying, oh, they've got this, they've got that, they are the children that are going to teach empathy, joy, compassion. They don't care about the materialistic world. They don't care if they have the next new Nike trainers, do they? They don't care if their bedroom's got this and that. They don't care if they've got this, designer thing on. They just are. They're here and they're present, but most of the time they're hearing angel frequency, spirit frequency, and they're loving it. And all these people go, oh, isn't it a shame that they're non-communicative? No, it's not. They've chosen to come down and still be awake, just to show people that just being in pure joy and dealing with whatever you've got, whatever disability, like me, with my ME, my life crumbled. I still can't tour. I still can't do one-to-one readings because they exhaust me, like I used to. But you have to look at the joy and the beauty of your existence. And that's what I do. I don't care how much money's in the bank. I do care if I've got a bill I can't pay.
Well, you want to eat. You want to pay your bills.
Exactly. So I don't make it my whole life, though. I'm not on here to make money. I'm here because I've got this inherent powerful drug within me that makes me want to bloody get on this screen every day I can and say, wait.
Well, look how you're helping people. Look what you're doing. So tell me this. I have two questions, and then I need to conclude because we're going to lose people out of the interview. And we're going to be coming back. I'm sure I'm going to interview you with your next book and all. Nicky, why is it important to be open to healing on this side before we transition to the other side? Why should people be listening to you and me and saying, man, I should talk to that medium. I should find a healer. Oh, boy, I've got all this stuff that's going on. Why do it now? Why not say, oh, wait, I'll get to it another time, another lifetime? Why here?
Well, number one, because I know it, my life, no matter what happens, I love myself. I never used to love myself. I'm in a healing vibration all of the time. I feel, what have I done to my soul today to heal it? Hence why I've got selenite, celestite, and I've got all my crystals around me, okay? So one, it will make your life easier down here. Two, your energy will vibrate out to other people without you even knowing it, which will inspire them. And three, it's a hell of a lot easier to get back down to say hello to people. my lot, yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm open, I've healed. Yeah, I'm done with that. Yeah, just quickly give me a live review, Jeremiah. I need to let someone know. And the record has been 4 hours. The lady passed at 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock, she was talking to her children because she was open. She was open to the spirit world. She'd healed a lot of her stuff. She'd dealt with her stuff. She'd done soul journals. If anything came up, she would go and see a counsellor or do whatever she needed to do to clear her palate.
So it made her transition at the end easier.
Oh, yes.
Like doing her healing. It's interesting because my mother did a lot of healing while she was here, and I was able to hear from my mother an hour and a half after she transitioned. And so that was a great sign. And another question, Nicky, tell me what your tip is for finding joy in life. I think your tip for finding joy is do your healing and you will find joy.
I think
anything else you want to add to that?
Well, the number one thing that I've learned is that your joy is not marked by what surrounds you and what you can afford and what you can attain. It's here. I never loved myself because I had such severe abuse. I felt like I deserved it, and I had to deal with that. And the angels helped me with that during that 5 years I was in bed. You find joy by loving yourself, because when you love yourself, everything will then plop in place, whether it's crystal work or I'm going to change my job because I want to look after children that are scared, or I want to become
We're not talking about narcissistic joy, that I'm the hottest one, most wonderful thing. We're talking about, like, the way I take it is when they pulled me out of the car and you're telling me that Ezreal came through and said, be loving and kind to everyone. That includes you too. That includes being loving and kind to yourself also, right?
Yeah, but that's huge, because if we can't do that for ourselves, all we're giving out is what we're feeling, the resentment, the hate. It's like very quickly, you know, some spirit people come down too early. They've either not listened to their review or they've not gone up, and they sit there and someone says, oh, my house is full of evil. And I'm like, it's your brother. But he was so angry and so desperate and so depressed when he died that that's all he's giving out. And I said, so that's a lesson for all of us, you know. What you give out is who you are. Who you are is what you give out. So self-love, healing. And I always say to myself every single day, what can I do today that's going to make me smile? Gratitude.
You know what I did today to make me smile? I interviewed Nicky Allen. So, Nicky, I just say you have such a vibrant personality, and you shine everywhere. And you also shine through your book, which is so enlightening and compelling, that I'm going to share this quote from your book, just because they haven't heard enough from us yet. I want our Grief and Rebirth audience to hear this quote from your book. The journey that the spirit world took me on, from haunting me with a screaming spirit baby to now, has been nothing short of miraculous. Each spirit person that has come to me has always brought something new to the table, whether it's a new symbol, a different way to prove their existence, or how they can bring smell and taste to my senses. They are relentless in trying to get through to their loved ones. I just wish that the whole of mankind knew this. Well, we're letting a bunch of mankind know this. People go through so much torment, loneliness, and pain when they have a bereavement. Those that have no clue their loved one is sitting right next to them are the type I want to reach. That's where I step in and try to get them to realize that there is no death of the soul. Nicky, thank you from my heart of hearts for this fascinating, enlightening, authentic interview with the inimitable, funny, and fabulous you. And I am not a psychic like you, but I absolutely know we're going to do this again. And here's a loving reminder, everyone, that you can see the show notes and all Grief and Rebirth podcast episodes on ireneweinberg.com. And make sure to follow us and like us on social at Irene S. Weinberg on Instagram, Facebook, and wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. As I like to say, to be continued. Many thanks, Nicky, with much love, and many blessings, everyone. And bye for now.